Imagine learning from someone who started business at the age of 13. Well, it was not by choice. But because his father believed that he only needed universal primary education, and then he could go from there, establish businesses, and even become a US dollar billionaire. And that is none other than Mike Mushi. Mike is one of the celebrated tech and media entrepreneurs that has now ventured into the gaming industry. He's one of the founders and board members of the Tanzania Startup Association. And I believe that he's among the right people in Africa to talk about startups and the startup ecosystem. Welcome to Thinkers and Builders, Mike.
Thank you.
Let me start by doing this.
Okay. Yeah, this is my very...
How old were you?
16, 005.
2005, yes. And you were 16 years.
Yes.
And here?
That's more younger. I think this was in my room.
Yeah. Had you completed primary school then?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
What were you working on and what were you thinking at that age? In what mind space were you in and how were you navigating through what you were doing here?
So ideally, I think I would term ourselves as privileged kids. Privileged kids in terms of we had parents who believed that we should have computers at a very early age. So our first computer is 1999. I think we were 9 or 10, 8 or 9. And then I think 2 years after we had internet at 2001 at home. And each of us, my siblings, had their own computers with internet at home. So we had a parent who believed that this is the future and they should get us exposed to that very early on. So with that, we got a head start in terms of computer stuff. So by 2005, you could take it out piece by pieces, you could get it back together, you could put it on, add this, add that. So you perfect the hardware, then you started perfect the software, you could build websites and things like that. So we had privilege in a very, very, very young age. But our parents believing that internet is the key and no TV.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you experimented with the computer.
Very, very.
From the hardware part of it to the software part of it. No TV.
Yeah.
And I understand that looking at other conversations that you have had, it was not by accident that you started working at a young age and developing websites. Can you tell us a bit about that experience?
My dad said, school is enough. He has computer, he has everything that you need to make it work, and then you'll venture and pay for yourself in your things. So working was the default thing to do, that you have to work and money, then pay for what you want to. My dad said, okay, try your way. And then my way is like, okay, I can build a website for your friends' businesses. Then, because he had friends who had money, who had businesses, then I would pitch. I'll do the websites, they'll pay me. So that's how I started working. So I started working very young age, because that's how, not by choice, but that's how I was supposed to do.
Did you still think you were privileged? The fact that you had to not continue with secondary school, right?
Yeah, I know I'm privileged now. I didn't know then. Then I think no, I just have to go to school like anybody else. Because afterwards, I had to start what you call elimu to Azima. Then
adult education.
Yes, at the old secondary school. Then I enrolled into a center. I did a bachelor degrees in business administration. But these are things that I did because my mother was pressuring me in terms of if everything doesn't work, you need to have something that you can touch. And to have something that I can touch is me having a certificate, is me going to school. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it, but I'll continue doing with my work. But at that time, I didn't think this is privilege. I know this is privilege now if I look back to the things I was exposed to, the things that I had, the things that I had to play with, which in any normal household are not, regular things.
Asking those questions because they are very important in the global setup right now, but also looking at the African continent, whereby over 1 billion people in the world live in Africa, and half of them are under the age of 20. But also, when we come to look at it, 30 million young people are out of school. So the issue of education can have significant impact on someone's life, and especially in a continent that is growing very fast. What are you seeing now in the startup trend? Do people have skills and experience, or do they have academic, formal education and lack skills? What is the trend that you are seeing?
Well, I think in my perspective, we have this thing called education, which didn't start a very long time. I think almost 100 years. So we've taken the way it is, and then we have installed it in our society, which is not a bad thing. It gives us knowledge into things. But I think for us to transform, it will require more than that. And I think right now we're in a very good position because we do not need to have things other continents had for generations, for civilizations. We would like to point out a problem that, for example, it's education or it's skill set. But some things are just civilization, like China, like Iran. These people are civilized for the last 800 years. So there are things in cultural, in innovation, in science, technology, that these people have mastered. Not because they have a good education, but because they've had it for 400 or 600 years. So I think for us, an opportunity that we have, which we have had, is technology, which is helping us to leapfrog some of these steps that it took others to reach where they are. Like in terms of communication, people had landlines, fax, you name it, for them to communicate. But we didn't have to pass through all that to have the same communication, and even more. They needed banks to have physical branches. We use technology to have phones, and then we have the banking service. So I think right now for us, in terms of knowledge, I think AI it's a level playing field. It gives us all the knowledge, all the civilization people have kept for years and years and years, and we have it in our phones.
Having AI as an equalizer, I would say,
Yes.
to what extent is it an equalizer, if at all we are using it as consumers and not as developers or the ones who are making sure that it's fed with information that can make Africa prosper to avoid the bias? So are there startup or anyone in the startup ecosystem who is looking into making sure that we don't also miss this opportunity?
So we can be consumers that help transform our continent.
How?
We did not invent banks. We did not invent mobile phones. Like mobile phones have changed people's life. As we are growing, our key focus shouldn't be for us to compete who owns the AI technology, but how many people can we uplift because of this technology? Like in banking, we're discussing how can we unbank people who don't have access to financial services. So we could look this thing at a greater good and see how we can, because for startups to flourish, we need to have people with disposable incomes. We need people to have jobs, so people can have income. With that income, they can consume, they can buy our products and services. So how can we make more of them? So right now we're building fintech on top of an infrastructure that was built already by somebody else. So instead of thinking of us being consumers, think of it as a platform, and then build on top of a platform. And then you can make much more further great impact. And technology changes every 10, 20 years. You can play catch up. So use that and invent your own technology.
What are the most interesting innovations you're seeing out there in the startup space in Africa that are going to complement the main infrastructures that are already there to a very big extent and maybe even transform our economy? I
think what I've been looking very closely is not what kind of startups that are doing that, but it's the environment that breeds the startups. Meaning, the way things are right now, things that we do not have yet policies and incentives to enable startups to grow. Startups are treated like any other form of businesses. The compliance that big businesses do and a startup that does today are pretty much the same because the laws are the same. So let's create a conducive environment, and then the environment will balloon all these startups. So how they incentivize, how do they attract capital, how do they build up talent? Because these are the fundamental things. They're the ingredients that makes the food. We've spent time to look at the ingredients and not to look at the end product of the food, because the food comes from the ingredients. And the ingredients are the policy framework. The ingredients are the laws. The ingredients are the regulations. The ingredients are the access to capital. Because these are the ingredients that makes, when they're mixed together, then they bring all this innovation. So I think in our context, in other markets, these ingredients are all in place. So you will see ballooning of startups here and there. But in our context, we still don't have that yet. Wow. So right now, with jurisdiction that has good formation of risk capital in terms of legal framework, in Africa, yes, we have Mauritius, we have Kenya, of course, which then gives these investors all these incentives. What
are the things that you would advocate, let's say, to governments that do not really have structures as that of Mauritius and Kenya to do? Like one, two, or three things.
The first thing is a policy for startups. We have to address startup as a sector, that's what the policy does. The policy addresses all these issues, from ownership, what qualifies you as startup. The policy addresses incentives. The policy addresses funding, from government-based funding to private sector-based funding, and at different stages. The policy addresses, incentives, let's say, with tax, how we charge in terms of taxation. That's the work of the policy. It gives confidence to everybody outside. This is what the country believes about startup. Then after the policy, for you to enforce that policy to be enactable, then the policy, you get a law. Then a law gives the policy legitimacy so that it can be executed. Then regulations helps you manage day to day. So this is the complete pack. This is everything that we need. Because this is what addresses all these issues.
Okay.
Because right now, since there's no policy that addresses whether you're a startup or your normal businesses, you're all compliance for you are all the same because you're all following the same law.
What have you learned from other countries in Africa other than Kenya and Mauritius, because we have already spoken about? Because this win, for us to win, we have to win together and learn from each other.
For example, Ghana is a very good example when you talk about a national venture capital fund. So a national venture capital fund is, for us to attract risk capital of the world, we also need to show the world that we've also put our money into the ecosystem.
Yes.
So a national venture fund is where the government puts greater funds. This is a fund of funds. The government put, let's say, $100 million, or let's say $50 million. This is the fund the government has set aside. So the fund is then managed by a capital markets fund manager. So what happens when somebody has money outside, an investor, of course, a venture fund or hedge fund, coming to open a venture fund in Tanzania? Let's say he has $10 million. He will then take $1 million from the fund. He will mix with the $10 million. Then you have 11. This will help de-risk the investment. But also, if the investment works, that money goes back to the bigger fund, and the bigger fund grows in size. Then it helps other fund. So this is a way to send a strong message that you're also putting, as a country, money into the ecosystem. So this money is not to be disbursed directly to startups. This is money leveraged by people who have more money. So it just opens up. So $100 million can open $1 billion in terms of funding. So Ghana did this. The fund of fund grew to actually $1 billion. So it attracted even 10 times that, because everybody will come with let's say $100 million. He will take 10. He'll mix, and it's called blended financing.
What kind of business qualifies to be called a startup?
In our definition, a startup is a business that has a potential to to scale and grow.
This could be any business.
Yes. And most of the time, also it utilizes outside capital to make the investment grow. But also the growth or the scale of it, can either leverage technology or any other innovation. So that's what qualifies as a startup.
Just to be sure that I understand and everybody understands, let's say I have a farm somewhere in Pwani, and it has a potential to grow, and I am taking some funds here and there, some loans here and there are, let's say, investors who are interested to invest in my farm business. Do I qualify as a startup?
Not really. You see, we have small businesses, we have conglomerates. We have SMEs. Just because you've started up doesn't mean it is a startup. A startup is a business that from the farm, can it scale and feed 1 million people from the same piece of land? Can it scale and feed 1 million people from the same piece of land with the same input? And how much risk capital does it need for it to scale and feed the world? These are high-risk businesses. When they succeed, they actually succeed and become big with the same amount of input. If that makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense. Why am I asking that questions? Because to some people, startup is synonymous to tech. And when they think of startup, they start thinking of places like Silicon Valley.
You see, it's synonymous to tech because tech is an enabler for it to scale. It can be tech, it could be any other enabler that enables it to go big. Technology is what gives you that leverage of scaling. And it could be technology into anything.
For it to be called a startup, there has to be tech as an enabler into that startup, or it's not necessary?
It could be tech or any other thing that helps you to scale.
Okay.
That with the same input that you've done, it could help you to scale and become big than what initially was. For me to scale farming of 1 acre plot and feed 1 million people, I need to have a bigger piece of land and a bigger piece of land and have more inputs and more people and more machinery. But tech doesn't need you that. Once it's working from 10 people to 1 million people, it's mostly the same input. It's the same app you're using. The one is being used in Dubai or maybe in Tanzania, Instagram. The same being used in the US. They're not building any app for every country. Your ability to scale is what attracts the risk capital, because with the same amount of input, I can make much more money.
Wow, perfect.
Yeah.
So looking at the population we have as a continent, whereby it's 1 billion people, by 2050, it's going to be 2.4 billion people, approximately. That means it would have doubled.
Yes.
With our current demography, youth are the largest in the population, but also the number of youth is increasing rapidly. So that means that we can provide human resources globally, but also we have the land, we have other natural resources, we have one of the biggest arable lands. How can youth take advantage of all these resources we have, including them as a resource, and start startups?
In my perspective, I believe that you can have as much big land as you can have as much resources as you can, but that doesn't give you the value of the resource. For you to be able to get the value of the resource, you need to have the technology to extract the resource. You can have uranium, but you need to have the technology to extract that uranium for it to be. And that technology is what we don't have. It's not that we don't have the actual thing. It's like how people have learned right now to extract gold. They've got the technical know-how, now they're doing it on themselves. So you having these things doesn't give you an advantage yet. You have an advantage yet when you have the technology to extract those things. But also, can you extract it at a low cost than anybody else in the world? Because then you can have it, but you're not the one using it. So we can tell ourselves all these beautiful worlds about everything that we have. I think the question would be, can you extract it? And can you do it at the very lowest cost than anybody else in the world? Because then you're selling these things to the world.
Mm-hmm.
You have it, but you don't eat uranium. You don't have a uranium facility to create, power.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're able to make our people have that technology, second them to facilities around the world so that they can be able to get knowledge, so they can come and use it here. I don't think there's a shortcut towards that.
Are you seeing any progress from the education sector as one of your stakeholders as a startup association? Do you see any interest or any initiatives for them to change the narrative within their area of work and make sure that there are more skills, and these skills speak to the type of technology we have and the pace at which technology is changing?
I'm not worried about our educational thing. What I want to see more is collaborations with other institutions that can help leapfrog. Because I think by the time we plan, by the time we implement, by the time it's starting working, that is 10 years, that thing has already gone off the market.
Like what institutions, and how can we collaborate?
Let's say, for us to understand, let's say, computer science, are we collaborating with the top computer science colleges around the world? So how are we attracting such talent to come and have a blended education with our people? Because we are going to a global world. We need access to that global talent now, not us planning about how the education will be.
Yeah, and with collaboration, and I understand that you mean us going there and then them coming here so that we can have that technology transfer.
Yes.
But that again means that our education system needs to, or the institutions that will be in that collaboration would require to have the level of technology that is needed to implement that.
Because I think by the time we plan, by the time we implement, by the time we started working, it's 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
That thing is out. How are we giving flexibility because these people that have the skill set now can impact you now, so you can get the value of that thing now.
In your thinking, how fast can we go with the technology pace?
My thinking is, how do we attract the best talent to come and have residence here? The best talent. Mm-hmm. So you're in Japan, you're in China, you want something about biotechnology. We have a visa ready for you. Come. Here are people. Part of you staying here, dedicate certain hours to work with these people.
If you are in a position to make that happen right now, what would you do? As you said, do it now, apologize later.
Exactly. I'll just do a very good visa, a global talent visa. Mm-hmm. These are the skill set that I need. Here's my visa terms. I'll give you 2 years worth of visa. You come and stay. I just want 40 hours a week in so and so university. Make things work. Because all these countries that we like and simulate them growing technologically wise, one of the things that they did, they created an environment to attract the best people around the world. Mm-hmm. The US H1, HB1 visa, the UK has a global talent visa, you name it. So they attract the best talent of the world. Because I think innovation, stepping forward is us leapfrogging. Leapfrogging is about human resource. Mm-hmm. This is the most crucial resource you could ever achieve. It's not about minerals, it's not about gas, it's not about water bodies, it's the human resource. If you're able to ignite that human resource, and then the success is unlimited. Mm-hmm. And I think we have relied so much on education institutions as the place for knowledge and human resource, but it's people. Let's open up and let the best people come here and work with us. Okay, if you can attract investment from investors, where can't you attract people? Just people. No, don't come to invest, don't come to put money. If you can attract tourists who can pay, what about some professors who have done PhDs, they're bored with their life in the UK or in Europe or in Japan or in China? Okay, why do you only want Chinese investors? Why don't you want Chinese scholars? We should have Chinese scholars everywhere teaching us so many things. Should have, just like how we have tourists. Tourists come here and pay money.
Tech nomads.
Yes.
That's number one.
Yes.
Anything else that you would do different?
I believe that for our youth to thrive, we need to give them an environment where they have choices on what they can do to earn an income. They need to have choices. Startup is one, but we can open up 10 new different economy that previously don't exist. That this youth has an option to do any of those things to get an income. I believe the best way to help youth is that. I mean, from 4, I'm inside 7, I'm a graduate, I have 10 options of things I can do that can give me income. Because when that is an option already, these people end up becoming very good founders. Because the more options you have for youth to generate income, the more you have people with disposable income, the more you have broadened up your consumer spending, the more innovation becomes endless. But how are we opening up new sectors that do not exist? That let's give them youth an opportunity to say, I can explore this, I can explore that, I can explore that, I can explore that. That is what I'll do.
Looking at youth who do not have such privilege, and probably they don't come from families that are well off financially, have you seen better examples that you can give to them for them to find such opportunities and make use of them?
Being privileged doesn't have to mean you've come from a well-off family. You just come from a setting where you have options to do different things than the norm. And most of us are privileged. We just don't want to look at it that way. Meaning, you can go to work, you can still stay at home if you want to. You've went out of home not because you're chased out, but because you wanted freedom. That's a privilege. You're looking for a job. If your job is not working, you would, you know what, I'll go home. So those are privileges. So there are lots of privileged people. It's just that we don't want to look at it that way because we believe there's other things we should have gotten to get us privileged. Like privilege is having an option of not working, but still living.
It's the opportunity to have options.
Yes.
You might not be financially well.
Yes, but you have an option.
Yeah, you have an option.
You have an option.
You can drop out from your job.
Yes, you can drop out from a job. You can go back home. Your parents will even like you to stay at home. You know, so those are privileges. That's one. But two, so even if you don't have the right financial privilege, you have the right privilege in terms of choices of what you can do. And I think that's how I look at it when I say privilege. So my hope is that some privilege can be institutionalized. So that like startup, if you institutionalize startups, there's a privilege for everybody who wants to open a startup. There's the right framework that supports that person. So that's what I believe. And so few of us who have privileges, how can we make it institutionalized for others so that we have a lot of us with the same privilege?
Yeah. So to put it into context, when you make starting a startup a privilege, that means that everybody has an equal opportunity
to start
a startup.
So they have income opportunity to start because the laws and regulations, cover that, but they have funding also as an option. They don't need to know anybody to have access to funding because there's a seed fund by the government, and then there's a private sector comes and merge the seed, is blend financing, then you have access to it. That's why it's important for the government to have that National Venture Capital Fund, because that's what then gives you privilege. Because there's also my government money in that. So you have the rights to get that money.
So just to put it into context and with practical examples, lack of incentives. This means that anyone starting a startup, a company, that means they have to compete with all other big companies.
You have to struggle on things that in this DNA of this world, you don't need to struggle. If you've ever experienced starting up a business in Silicon Valley, you realize that there are people at coffee shops just searching for deals so that they can invest. It's because then that is their business, looking for the next big idea, because there's massive amount of capital. But because that environment is set there. So you now, right now, being in the US is a privilege. That's why people are looking for US passport. It's because of the privilege that it gets you just being known as a US citizen. You have options. You can fly to how many countries without a single visa? That's privilege. That's what I think we can institutionalize privileges.
Could lack of privilege to start startups be the reason why most startups are not registered?
Because registering is a cost. Am I spending that cost registering? Am I spending that cost in my business? I'll spend it in my business. But you can make that a privilege. You know, if you get a certificate, you're a startup, you get automatic registration and you start. You go and open a bank account.
Are we seeing similar scenarios in other countries in Africa, other than Mauritius and Kenya?
Yes, I think places where they have institutionalized startups like Ghana, like Egypt, like South Africa. So being a startup, registration is not an issue anymore because it's a privilege already. You will get it via formal processes. You know, you don't have to overthink about registration. So any place where they've institutionalized startups, yes, it's an incentive. It's there. There's a lot more than just registration. There's access to funding in different types of. There's angel investors. People just invest in idea. They haven't seen anything. They just liked your PowerPoint presentations.
Speaking about access to funding, let's talk about the types of funding that are there in the African setup.
In my perspective, I call it risk capital. This is capital available for people who have already have capital and they're willing to place a bet on something that they believe is good and it's going to make them money. I call it risk capital. And then it has so many other names. It's either angel investing, venture capital, the hedge funds, there's so many names to it. But what I call it is risk capital. This is capital people know that doing this decision, I might lose it all. And there's no getting it back. But I might also win. And when I win, I will win big.
Yeah.
Yes.
Looking at this risk capital, as you call it,
Yes.
and the environment that we have, what hope is there for foreign funders? And what hope is there for domestic funders?
People will invest money in any businesses anywhere around the world as long as it has the right return on investment. And the more the riskier, the more the higher investment it will be. Although we don't have the right environment. We have an environment, yes, it's not the right environment, but still an investment is flowing in. We believe with the right environment, we will triple, quadruple that investment. That's all. But when the environment is there, then the environment will then specify how each of, from local to international, what incentives do they get. And that's what the policy is supposed to do. It will say for local innovators, fund owners, these are your incentive. For foreign, these are your incentive. So it will be very well articulated. That's what the policy does. So after that, we don't have to talk about what incentives each of one has because it will be written. It will be known. It will be a fact on how much tax do you pay when you bring money in, how much tax do you pay when you take your money outside, how much tax do you pay when you exit. It will all be written. So there's no, you can do a risk analysis now and understand what happens when you do an investment in a particular place. So that is how institutionalization helps. Then it's not a question anymore.
Statistics shows that domestic funding is not as much as foreign funding. Is there something that we are doing wrong at the domestic level with domestic funding that we could do better? Again,
it's incentive. I'll give an example. You know, when we are fundraising for weddings, there's always an incentive. That card is very clear. It says, one, the newlyweds, because they're not trusted, they have to use their parents' name. So if you start by saying the parents of X, Y, and Z, and the parents of X, Y, and Z, cordially invite you to the wedding of their daughter X, Y, Z, and their son X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
The reason they use their father's name is because these two new people are not trusted. Nobody knows them. They don't have the social capital.
As a couple.
As a couple, as individuals, they don't have. But their parents do. So,
but some of them do have.
No, they don't have enough. They don't have. They don't. Who trusts them? The newlyweds. You're not even married. Why would they trust you?
Yeah.
But their parents are trusted. So the social capital is their parents. That's how they got introduced. Yes, you have the capital, but why should I trust you? Okay, I look at your father. Okay, I know your father. I've seen him for a couple of years, so I think I trust them. That's why I go to weddings. There are a lot of older people than younger people. If they're the social capital, that wedding would have full with younger people, which is necessarily not the same. Our weddings full with younger people. More
it depends.
Older. So when we fundraise now, they ask you, they're getting married, the time, the date, the venue, and they ask you for a pledge. But we have systemized that. So we pledge, and when we pledge, we'll do our first committee, first meeting, which I call that board meeting. We'll choose an accountant. Is it an accountant or what? A treasury.
Treasury,
secretary,
chairperson.
And then we'll have subcommittees who will act on different avenues.
Actually, that's a board.
Exactly. So this is a board, and this is a secretariat. Each people with a specific task and who they report to. So you see.
Yeah.
And then we'll meet every week, every end of the month, and we'll discuss our financials, who has said what. Each committee will come and say updates of what they've done, and money will flow in. Event will happen, money will flow out. Do we have capital? Yes, we have. But we have institutionalized how that capital is, how our capital flow in and how the capital flows out. I don't believe that capital does not exist. I think it does. It's just that we have not formed local means, to get that capital flowing. That has transparency, that has, it has an end goal in mind. We know exactly what the end looks like. There's accountability, there's everything, there's every structure for capital. Just like an investor will need the same thing. An investor will need a board, we'll need to have a management, you'll have auditors, they'll have access, there'll be dividends, they'll have reports every month. It's the same thing.
Actually, I like the example that you have given.
Yes.
A few weeks ago, I was talking to someone, and then I told her that I'm starting a company. I have a big vision. I don't know how to raise funds.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hectic to start fundraising from people who don't know me.
Exactly.
What about we start a WhatsApp group and, hey guys, I'm not getting married, but here is the committee. Would you like to pledge and contribute?
No, it's the same model. We don't trust you, but we trust your parents. So you should go back
I have to put my parents' names.
Go to your parents. Say, look, mom, look, dad, listen. This is my idea. It's what I want to do. I need to fundraise. Try it. Your dad has people. Mom has people. Your parents has people. They can call. Like, there's this idea. Can you listen to it? You
have been in the startup ecosystem for a while. Why don't we try that?
We have not
as a
tried.
source of funding.
We've not tried. But when we try, we should have all those elements. Where's the accountability? Where's the board? Who keeps who accountable? How are we reporting? How are we giving updates? In weddings we give monthly updates. You know that.
Yeah.
We have subcommittees. Who's doing what? It's there.
Would you mind taking us through examples of different ways of fundraising that you have seen from other people and the way you have fundraised and what you have learned from those dynamics?
I think the principles are still the same, that people will give you money if they trust you. Yes, they'll trust your idea, but they need to trust a person. But also trust is built by showing them that their money will be safe and that you'll do what it takes to make the idea work. Remember that this is a risk capital, so there's elements of him not getting that money back. So what will keep the money flowing and others giving you more money is the element of trust. And trust comes from you being honest and transparent about your entire operations. Being okay in giving good news, but also being okay in giving bad news.
How does that work?
I think as founders, we are used to telling people success stories, missions, and we tell people the vision, And sometimes things don't work. We also need to tell our founders when things are not working. Because they're not only putting money, they also have other things that can work when things are not working. They have other things that can help when things are not working. But also, when saying things when things are not working is how you continue earning the trust. Because then you're not saying when things are not working and something bad happens, then you have eroded the trust. And then I don't trust you anymore. And if I don't trust you, I don't give you my money.
You spoke about bad news, being able to give bad news and to share bad results, not just success stories. One of the things that people look up to when they're starting startups is they are so optimistic and looking forward to exiting the company, but they don't look much into the company failing and them winding it up. What is your message to those who are experiencing failure and they keep holding on to those companies without winding up the companies?
One thing I've learned is that companies are like kids. You start with them. When they're very young, they depend on you. They can't talk. When they start talking, start working, they go to school, and then they graduate. Now they're going to live their lives. But some kids don't use that route. Some drop out at class 7 and they don't want school anymore. But they still were kids.
Yeah.
So I think the ability to letting go is not because that you've failed, but you've acquired all the skill sets to make this thing work. And then a good example is like if you went to the gym and you're doing dumbbells and then you're doing weight, and you can do 20 kgs, 10 kgs in right hand, 10 kgs in left hand. The same amount of weight could be a stone of 10 kgs, 10 kgs. When you've built that muscle already, that 10 kgs could be anything. So you have acquired the right amount of muscle to build something else and work. It failing does not mean that your muscles are lost. You can still carry something else and make it work. You have the right skills. Your startup dying is not you dying. You can still come and revive it 10 years from now. Maybe that's when the idea will be right. Because sometimes you have everything right, it's just not the right timing. And that there's nothing you can do about it. So how are you using the same strength, the same will, the same power, the same skill set to do something else?
You have personally gone through such phases. How did you manage to come out of it mentally, physically, and emotionally so that people who are having failed projects or they have to exit from their business for one reason or another can learn from you?
Well, I think we just need to embrace and talk about failure, because I think we have talked so much about success to the point where we don't believe like if failure happens. So how are we embracing conversation about failure? Because at the moment you understand that it happens to everybody, and that if your idea failing is not you failing, it gives you a moral boost that you can do it again. Because we have talked so much about success to the point that people don't believe there's failing. They believe everybody who does something always succeeds.
Or maybe we are seeing so many examples of people succeeding online and in media that we associate every trial with success.
Exactly.
I think my podcast will succeed because
Yes.
others are succeeding.
Yes. And when it fails, we can't have a conversation of why it failed. And we do not embrace failure as part of the process of success, because we only know what succeeded in a successful person or successful venture. We don't know what has failed. Because when one succeeds, it covers all the failures. So how are we creating a culture where we talk about failure?
And actually, more startups are failing than succeeding.
Yes, and they fail, and they start again. They fail, they start again. We don't have it figured out. We only figure it out by doing.
Yeah.
Your idea is only good when it's executed and it works. So we need to go and execute an idea and see if it works and iterate it and make it work. So I've come to realize that we all fail, and talk about the failures. And then that's when we come to understand that what it takes to success is how long you failed.
Yeah, how long you failed, and speaking in your own words, it means that how long you failed translates to the amount of muscles you have gained
Yes.
throughout the
Yes,
process.
exactly. And when you succeed, you forget about all the losses. And a podcast like this is a very good thing because it can start embracing that. The idea of how do we talk about failure.
What would you say is your biggest failure so far?
My biggest failure is managing partnerships. Because I've started a project with people, or I've started a project where I've partnered with people later on. And how do you manage partnerships? Because then partnership affects businesses and then affects the entire relationship. So I think my biggest failure has been managing partnerships. And that's what happened to my last venture. A partnership that failed, that affected the overall project. And I've learned now about partnerships, so it shouldn't be harder for me next time doing, because I believe in business you're lucky to have complementing partners who complement things that you can't do and you complement things that they can't do. Not all of us will be good at everything. So at some point we will need co-founders, we will need people that complement what we don't have, because as the business grows it requires more and more depth in some areas, and you will require to get people. And when you're young, you're not making money, so you can't pay qualified people. You pay people that, okay, if it works, you also get a certain percentage of this thing.
Yeah.
Yes, that's how a startup works. So curating that partnership is very crucial, because it's a make or break of that startup. So most startups have died not because it has a bad idea or because it had no traction. Partnerships failed, and when it failed, it kills the business.
I believe there are so many startup founders out there who are maybe looking for partners or trying to partner in business in one way or another. What are those key practical things that you think are crucial for them to have in place? Yeah.
So understand what you're very good at. So do. And then also understand what you're not very good at. That naturally you need a lot of energy to do it. So find things that come natural, easy to you, that you don't have to use so much power to actually get the same result as people who spend every day doing the same thing and they get the same result. And then find things that you're not. The things that you're not, look for a person that is very good at that thing. That is like, yes. So your partnership is complementary. These things means you are codependent on each other. Because the moment your partners have the same skill set, then they don't need each other. They can all do things on themselves.
Okay.
So a complementary is what keeps you together, because you know this person can do this thing very well. I can't do that very well. He can do very well. I can't do it very well. And the depth you both have is what makes that business grow.
And what about the continent? What's our biggest failure when it comes to preparing the youth to take up the startup space?
I think biggest failure is us youth ourselves. I think we think it's somebody's responsibility to take care of us, to shape us, to prepare our future, to give us whatever. I think
Entitlement.
yes, we think it's somebody's job. Yes. So if we want to create that future, we should get in. We should do what it takes to get that future in. If you want our place in politics, let's get in. If you want your place in business, let's get in. We kind of think that it is other people's responsibility to do things for us. So I think that's our greatest failure. But I think, as you said, youth, in my point of view, I think we should believe that the future is now. There's no future. There's no preparing for the future. You at future. No, future is now, and we are living the future now. So we should be able to articulate that future that we want, and be able to work to get it. It won't come, because if we don't do it, then it's not coming. We can actually believe it's somebody else's job to give us the future.
To give us the future.
Yes.
How are the platforms like the Tanzania Startup Week designed to make sure that they ignite that fire in youth? And do we have similar platforms around Africa?
Yes, we have similar platforms around the world. There's some platforms around Africa. I think What makes it unique is that is that this is a platform that is not owned by the association. It's owned by an organizing partner. Every year we do a rotation of different ecosystem players who come together and organize an event. Mm-hmm. And the event is meant to bring all these stakeholders together, from investors, government, startups, research institutions. We have this 1 week where we discuss things pertaining to our ecosystem. So it's co-organized by the Ministry of Information Technology, by Startup Association, Startup Week. We have financing partners. We have startups themselves from different sectors, academic institutions, foreign funders who come in and leverage this platform. What we want to do differently is let the key beneficiaries of the ecosystem be the ones preparing this event.
How many startup weeks have you done so far?
So this is our second startup week. Last year we had startup week last year. We did it in December. It was 5 days. This is the second edition, and we expect it to be bigger than last time and have a more diverse group of participants coming in, from funders to startups themselves who did not participate last year.
Okay. Have you seen any results from last year's meeting? Because nowadays there is this meeting fatigue that people have, and events fatigue. Like, we go to events one after another for different purposes, and then we don't see results. As Tia said, have you seen any results from last year?
Yes, we had commitments of around $40 million from investors in last Startup Week.
Is it the one which forms the National
Venture Capital Fund?
National Venture Capital
yes,
Fund.
Capital Fund, yes. Mm-hmm. Because last year also the government pledged to start the process of starting the fund. So that's one of our biggest achievements for last year. But also, with participants attending, we had special help desk for different government institutions that were present, from FCC to TCC. That were helping things that collide with startups. So it's, as I said, it's not startups speaking to themselves. It's a platform where ecosystem players have key sessions and key activities in that week all together.
As you said, like, we need exchange of knowledge and technology and all that.
Yes.
Let's say someone is in India and would like to come to this startup, because we know they have a very well-established startup ecosystem there, and we can learn from them. Or someone is somewhere in Ghana or Mauritius, the places you have given examples of. How can they access the startup week? And maybe they're already invited. Like, how is that working?
So the website will be up and running. I think the website is already up and running. There'll be a form where you can fill it, you can apply. We'll have all the details about the upcoming speakers, the themes, any publication beforehand will be updated on the website as well. So, and you applying to attend, the form, everything will be on the website. So our website of the Tanzania Startup Week is up and running. More information about how to attend, themes, speakers, and everything is listed on the website.
Okay. At a personal level, what makes you content? What makes you feel fulfilled in everything that you're pursuing?
I think it's realizing that I don't have it figured out.
Oh.
I don't. Realizing that I do not have to act as if everything, the way everything stands out is how I planned it to be. So I'll do my best and wait for the moment to, say the rest.
I think I like what you have just said. I think I find it to be very powerful because most people would look at you and they would think that you have it all figured out. I was talking to a lady the day before yesterday, and I told her that I personally think the fake it till you make it does not mean that live a fake life, but keep trying, keep doing. And everybody you see in this room, we were at a certain meeting, I don't think they have figured it out.
Because we've seen people achieve what they've achieved, we like to believe that they have figured it out.
Yeah.
But I come to realize no, and especially I think it even becomes worse once you accept that you have figured it out. Then you start believing that everything that has happened is because you have planned it to happen that way, and then you plan something else, and then it won't work. And then you'll be so hard on yourself that how comes this time it did not work out? But if the first time when it worked out, it's not because you figured it out for it to work out. So there's a big element of luck, I would say, which is uncontrollable, which then either amplifies or does magic to whatever you're doing. So I think yes, accepting that you don't have it figured out gives you peace. That okay, I've done my best. This time it did not work. So that to me, like gives me peace. I'm doing right now everything I know to make it work, and then the rest is not my responsibility.
And what is it that you have learned from startup founders, specifically successful startup founders out there in the world? What is the common trait that you have learned about them that you think that it has changed the way you work around your business? And you think it is important that someone else, a founder, a thinker, a builder somewhere else should know about?
They've mastered the skill of looking for talent, hiring talent, and keeping talent. That is very key. They're constantly looking for talent, finding ways to bring talent, finding ways to manage talent, because that is what makes or breaks what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, and it's a skill set I think every founder needs to have. How do you look for talent? How do you identify talent? Then how do you keep talent?
Do you have any clue how to do that?
Well, I think you have to practice. Practice. One, understand how you work. Understand what are the skill sets that you need, and where do you find that person, and how do you identify a person with that skill. Then repeat it. Go have an interview, discuss with them, see if you see things in the right way, or they see things different from you. I will advise have people who see things totally different like how you see, so you're not having a blind eye on things. So talent. You need to find it, you need to know it, you need to manage it and keep it. Very few people have the depth of making one thing work. Meaning they start with one thing, then they end up with just one thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of us need to soul searching to find what works for us, what we like and what chooses us. So a good example, I think, is like a buffet. When you go to a buffet, there's rules. Don't go and start it. First, you should do a tour. Look at what everything is available. Go start the first until the dessert desk. Then when you realize now, and then when you go and take your plate, you know exactly what to take.
And that's the power of diversifying your portfolio.
Yes, and it's not even diversify. I think it's exploring things that you think you like. Things that you think you like and things that you think that you can do. Because the things that you like and the things that like you, the things that you just do because it gives you money.
What are the things that you like and what are the things that like you and gives you money?
Okay, like people go to work, not because they like to work, not because they like their work. They do the work because it gives them money.
Most people,
like 99% of most people. Because money is what gives them what they like. The money they earn by doing something that gives them money, gives them an opportunity to go and do something that they like. So for you to get something that you like, that gives you money, God, you're blessed. Because life is not that simple. You can't be that blessed doing something that you like every day. And the thing that's like you, because you're very good at it, not because you like it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like technology. I like media, but not because it gives me money. I think because I like it. It just comes naturally. You know, and there are things like gaming, for example, because they're technology based. They like me. I can look at it and say, "This is how it's supposed to do."
In the context of startup?
With startup, it stretches your ability in all those areas. Because as you start up, you have to be your CEO, you have to be your chief human resource, you have to be your chief marketer, you have to be your chief accountant, you have to be chief customer service. You're stretching yourself in all these fields to make this startup work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a superpower startups have. That's a muscle I'm talking about, what it takes to build a startup. Because you have to figure these things out very early on. You're the ones, you're the chief HR.
Tell me about it, with thinkers and builders.
Yes, meaning that you are required to find the right resource to make this thing work.
Yeah.
You're the chief CFO.
Mm-hmm.
You're required to make the financing work.
Yeah,
You're
you
the
do
chief
all the
marketer
admin
to do all
and
the
everything.
admin. So with the startup, you are forced to stretch in all these skill sets and supposed to be very good at them. And that's why, as I said before, you need to find collaborations, partnership in terms of which area you lack or you're not good at. So you have somebody else who's very good at those areas, which then you share the risk and the benefits if this startup actually works. Or else, if you can afford, you pay for it.
What makes you passionate about startups?
It's something that I like. I think something that I've been doing for the last 20 years or so. It also gives me joy to see that there's enough opportunity for everybody. I believe there's enough opportunity for everybody. I believe the amount of risk capital in the world that is available, it's a lot. It's into trillions of dollars. So it's a passion project for me. How can we make this thing work? Because it will help all of us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you for your
I
time.
have truly enjoyed having this conversation with you.
Thank you.